Now look, today we're diving into the latest courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. And if you've been following this story, you know his legal battle's been headline news all year. But just this week, Diddy was back in the court trying to vacate his convictions, basically asking the judge to throw them out. Look, y'all sit back and relax and stay until the end of this episode because we about to dive into what's going on, what's at stake, and why are his lawyers saying that he's just an amateur ornographer. Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Eyes Low, Belly Full. As y'all know, this marks episode 158. So let's rewind for a second. Over the summer, Diddy was acquitted of most of the serious charges, like racketeering conspiracy and ex-trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Basically a big win for his defense. But he didn't walk away scot-free. The jury found him guilty of 2 counts under the Mann Act. That's a law that basically makes it a crime to transport people across state lines for prostitution or unlawful sexual acts. And those convictions carry some serious time, potentially up to 20 years behind bars. Now, fast forward to yesterday, September 25th, and Diddy was back in the New York federal courtroom for a hearing. And his lawyers came out swinging, asking the judge to just toss out the convictions or give him a new trial. And here's where it gets wild. Diddy's lawyers argued that he wasn't acting like a pimp or a John. Instead, they argued that he was just recording and watching what went down at these infamous freak-off parties. And they compared it to making amateur porn, which they say should be protected under the First Amendment. So their angle is, if Diddy was simply filming or observing consensual acts, that's not prostitution. That's expression. Now, they're also challenging how the Mann Act was applied here, suggesting that the law was stretched way beyond what it was originally meant for.
Patriot Secret Service, Sam, just stepping out of the courtroom. Very interesting. The judge did not say any response. We are waiting around because he still could give his decision whether to acquit it. Personally, I feel like they should let Diddy go. I hate to say this, but he's being held on the Mann Act, which they pointed out is a very racist old law that, you know, people have been pretty much laughing off now for 100 years. And also, what does this say? How many rich people in our country have engaged in this type of activity? The judge was actually further saying, what about an adult film? That basically this was an adult film and it falls under voyeurism. It does not fall. He didn't even participate. It was just like if you think he was watching the action go on. So it's very interesting. I'll do a more detailed breakdown today on my live at 5, but we're adjourned for court today, guys. So I love you all. Have some more videos coming up. Secret Service Sam out. Samson for president of TikTok.
And they even asked the judge to consider giving him a sentence of just 14 months max. Being that Diddy already been locked up for months, that would mean that he will walk away scot-free pretty soon.
TMZ Live, if the defense in the Diddy case gets its way, Diddy could be a free man next month, because they have filed a massive document basically setting out their position. And their position is that what he was convicted of amounts to nothing more really than an orgy.
Orgies. Yes, that he had orgies. Big deal. Is kind of the tone of the documents that they filed, and they, make their case for him. If you're going to convict him, that this should be a very lenient sentence.
So what they're asking for is this. They are saying, look, he was found not guilty on all the serious charges: racketeering, fraud, force, coercion, rape, all of those found not guilty. He wasn't charged with rape, but it was part of the force issue. The only thing he's left with is the Mann Act, which is taking a prostitute across state lines and paying them for sex. What they're saying is, what that is worth is 14 months in prison and then supervised release for some period thereafter.
Now, we should say that this is what they are,
Right.
Diddy's team is suggesting to the judge. The prosecutors are on the far other end of the spectrum where they're saying he should get somewhere between 4 to 5 years. That would, I'm sure, include time served. Again, he's been in for a year now.
I got to say,
that would be
that would be throwing the book at him for a Mann Act violation.
Yeah.
If he gets 14 months, if the defense gets what they want, he'd essentially get out October 3rd because
he's been in
for
13
a year,
months.
and you get 15% credit for time served. So he'd basically be out after the sentence, and then he'd be on supervised release.
Right.
So there's something more, though, and that is
whether or not
he should be sentenced at all.
Yeah, there's this side battle that's going on where they want to throw out the 2 Mann Act convictions. They've won, and they're sort of trying to spike the football and say those Mann Act convictions should be thrown out as well, because all Diddy did was he never actually hired the prostitutes for the purposes of having sex himself. What he did was hire prostitutes, bring them across state lines. He said they said on the stand, the prostitutes, it was for our company, but even if you believe they came for sex, it wasn't for sex with him. He's saying he was the amateur pornographer, he was the voyeur, but the sex was going on between Cassie or Jane and the prostitute. Now, this is a pretty clever argument. I think it's a little too clever, to be honest with you, because
they've made that before.
They have.
Well, there's going to be.
But that is, he's right. That is the classic Mann Act, is where you bring a prostitute across state lines for your own purposes.
Yeah.
But of course, the prosecutors weren't buying it. Their position is simple. Diddy wasn't just a bystander. He arranged travel, booked hotels, coordinated logistics, and basically set the stage for everything to happen. And let's not forget those damn recorders. Prosecutors say they weren't just harmless keepsakes. They could have been used as leverage or even a form of control. I mean, to them, it doesn't matter if Diddy never directly engaged in the acts. Facilitating or orchestrating makes him just as responsible under the law. So the government is pushing hard for the judge to let the conviction stand and for Diddy to face some serious prison time. Now, the big question is, what does the judge think? Well, Judge Subramanian made it clear in court that he'll issue a ruling quickly. And he even pressed Diddy's defense on why some of these arguments, like the First Amendment claim, wasn't raised earlier in the case. And he didn't seem overly convinced by the amateur corn defense, but he hasn't tipped his hand completely. And if he rejects Diddy's motion, sentencing is set for October 3rd, and that could be the day we actually learn how many years he'll actually serve. And no matter what happened, this case is shaping up to be one of the most talked about celebrity trials of the decade. And I don't know about y'all, but that amateur pornographer defense is something I never thought I'd hear in the courtroom in this case. Now, I want to hear what y'all think about this situation. Do you think this is a stretch by Diddy's lawyers, or do you think they have a point about overreach in the First Amendment? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like button. Give me a thumbs up, and also subscribe and hit that bell notification for more episodes. I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. Peace.